Hello, my podcast people, and thank you for joining me for yet another episode of my favorite podcast. Merry Christmas to you if you celebrate. If you don't, Merry Monday. And welcome to the second to last episode of 2023 and the last solo episode of 2023. If you're listening to this on the day that it drops, it is Monday, December 25th, and we are talking about my top 5 online business predictions for 2024. But first, 2 housekeeping items / important announcements. Number 1, this Thursday will be the final episode for 2023, and it's going to be a guest episode with 2 of my favorites, Meredith Root and Alex Parker. If you've been listening to the previous episodes, and I was kind of going back and forth, should I drop that episode on Christmas or on Thursday? Decided to go with Thursday so that I could get this announcement out first. It's the 11 billionth time that they've come on. I already recorded the episode, and it was really fun. Yes, we talk about business and kind of like lifestyle and setting goals and things like that, but the episode was largely, friends shooting the ship, not like in the brochacho way. We were like, shut up, right? Not in that way. We talked about them as a couple. We talked about them coming out and being out. We talked about living life authentically. We talked about pleated pants. We talked about Doc Martens. We talked about the L word. The L word is a show. For those who don't know, the L word is a show, and we had some hot takes on that. But overall, it was just a really, really great episode, and I hope you check it out. So that'll be out this Thursday. The second announcement, as of 2024, which is like next week, I am going to be moving to one podcast episode per week. It will drop on Monday, the same way we've been doing these Mondays episodes. It'll be on YouTube as well. The show itself isn't going anywhere, right? Maestro on the mic isn't going anywhere. I'm just making space for I don't even know what. But, addition by subtraction is a very real thing. So I'm taking away one of the episodes. My word for the year, I'm pretty sure it's going to be write, WRITE. And I know that I'm going to need energy, like mental energy, just a lot of energy to build that habit. Writing comes pretty easily. And I'm going to say I'm good at writing, but I do need the energy to build that habit because right now it's kind of writing as I want to, even though I do tend to get it done weekly. I want to be more intentional about that, and that's going to take energy in order to build that habit. So creating some space for that. Also just making space for something new. I don't know what yet to fill in. I do feel that the business or, me personally is kind of moving in a different direction or a new direction. And I don't know what that is, but the only way that I'm going to be able to get to that direction is having the space to allow for that to fill in. So I'm doing that. The coolest part about running my own business is that if I want to go back to 2 episodes, I can. I know that I have the bandwidth to do it. Oh, hit the mic. I know I have the bandwidth to do it, and it comes fairly easy. In that same vein, I do not feel like I'm going through the motions with making 2 podcast episodes, but it feels like I could get there, and I can get there very quickly. And I don't want that. I really enjoy making this kind of content, and I want to stay enjoying it. And so I think that by cutting back to one, I can stay really excited about it and be like, oh, I'm excited to put that in the next episode. But then also have space to lean into whatever other endeavor it is. I really don't know what it's going to be. I have some ideas bopping around, but oftentimes the universe is like, you have a plan, do whatever, we're going to do something else. So we'll see. Cutting back to 1, and yeah. Also, as of 2024, I will have 540 podcast episodes for you and anyone that is listening to pick from. I do feel like I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm like, I've said everything I want to say. People have a question, I'm like, I said it. That was episode 239. So while I know that once is never, I am totally here for having that 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 11 billionth time that someone needs to hear that. I'm all for having that be them hearing it via searching for that episode and then listening to a previous episode. So that in mind, I feel like I've said that in mind a million times, but that in mind, if you go to www.themovementmaestro.com/podcast, there is a search box that will be at the top of the page. You can type in whatever you want, and all of the relevant or, related posts, I should say, I call them posts, but episodes and blog posts will come up. So you may need to listen to it via the actual website because like I've told you in the past, I've said in the past, the major players, I'm thinking about Apple Podcasts right now, it only shows 300 episodes at a time. This will be episode 539. moving forward, it'll be, over 500 episodes, which means that those earlier episodes, you will not be able to go and scroll back on Apple Podcasts and listen, but you can listen to through the website. So cutting it down to one episode, you can search for past episodes. I'm certain that there is a podcast episode about it. And if there isn't, please write to me. I've actually had a few of you do that, and I love it. And I love when people start the email or the DM being like, I searched, I tried looking, but I didn't find it. I'm like, bless you. So if you don't find what you're looking for, you can DM me, you can shoot me an email, you can text me 310-737-2345, and I am happy to make an episode about that. All right. So let's jump into the main topic for today's episode, which is online business predictions for 2024. Right off the bat, I think that we see what we look for and also what is around us. To that end, just remember that when you're listening to any kind of predictions, including mine, and you're listening to marketers in general. I'm not going to lie, that because I wanted to insert this piece because I've been scrolling, because I'm always scrolling. I like being on Instagram. I like being online. But I stay getting annoyed when I'm scrolling, and I see people sharing content that looks to position something as essential that abso-fucking-lutely is not essential for success in online business. For example, nothing is dying, right? Meaning we are dying. But in terms of platforms, people will be like, oh, X is dying. Like, people have been saying Facebook is dying. It's thriving, right? Is your demographic there? Are you making reels? Like, there's money to be made over there. LinkedIn be popping off, or so I hear. I'm not going over there, but I could very easily say LinkedIn isn't worth it. Don't do it, because it's not what's around me. It's not what I'm looking for, right? So if someone's saying that something is dying, it's likely that it's just not relevant or desirable for that person. So keep that in mind, okay? Second part here, the foundations and the fundamentals as it relates to online business will always work, right? Foundations and fundamentals being, be a goddamn human, a goddamn decent human at that, and actually care about other people. And that's always going to work. And that relating piece will always be at the heart of business success, online business success. So lean into that, right? Strategy and all that shit aside, just lean into that. Soft suggestion, if you haven't already, go and read The Go-Giver. It's by, I don't even fucking know. We'll link it in the show notes. We'll link my Amazon affiliate link. But I assign that to my Instagram intensive folks each round, and I read it again. And while it can be a little bit, I don't know, it's a made up story, right? And so it can be a little bit eye roll, but also at the heart of it is legit. And I think that it presents what I consider to be the foundations, the fundamentals of running a successful business. So if you haven't read it, it's a very quick read. You can listen to it on Audible. It's like a 2-hour book, super, super short. So check that out. All right. Now officially onto my top 5 online business predictions / suggestions for 2024. Number 1, in-person business will always be a thing. So if you are in the in-person space, go forth and crush it. From a strategy perspective, pound the pavement. That's how you're going to make those relationships, establish those relationships, and also look to utilize SEO. Using social media isn't really as important for a brick and mortar business. Yes, have something. I have an entire episode, how to use Instagram for a brick and mortar business. Courtney, thank you. You can listen to that, but I wouldn't be putting all my energy there. How does this prediction or suggestion relate to online business? Well, in-person is and always will be the easiest way to start an online business because it's the fastest way to build trust. So if you're looking to build your online business, go in person as well. Go and form those relationships, establish those relationships, talk to people, right? If, especially, you are going B2C, business to consumer, in person is a phenomenal way to learn what your avatar, which is typically the general population, actually wants and is actually ready for. If you're just in the online space and you're only doing things on social media, the algorithm tends to kind of silo you, and it attracts, puts you in groups with people that are like you. So if you're like a personal trainer, then you're typically seeing content from other personal trainers. You're a physical therapist, you're seeing content from other physical therapists, maybe you're following them. And so you think everyone knows this. You're a personal trainer, you think everybody's doing this. Meanwhile, the average person is not doing that. They don't know that. They're 11 billion steps behind that. And you don't realize that because you're just seeing people like you. So going in person, going to the airport, friends, go to the airport and see where the average person is at and then tailor your marketing accordingly. My second online business prediction / suggestion is that the pandemic boomerang is very real, meaning a lot of folks popped off during the pandemic because with their online business because everybody was online. And then maybe the summer after that, the algorithm like quote unquote opened up and people went viral. And now folks are seeing what it's actually like and just how hard this is, and that the algorithm giveth and the algorithm taketh away. People are dropping out. People are like, fuck this. Like it's I don't know I can't predict this. Like they have a hard time converting people into actual customers, right? Because if you built a platform off of entertainment, it can be very difficult to then monetize that. So we see folks giving up. You listening to this or watching this, keep going. You want to succeed in online business? Keep going. Third prediction / suggestion for online business 2024 is there is a lot of supply. There will continue to be a lot of supply. I mean, there's a lot of people that are providers, providing something, selling something online. The solution to this, 3 things. Number 1, lean into more you. More being MOAR, which is a better, bigger, badder way to spell more. Differentiation in the space or standing out in the space comes from leaning into what I'm going to call your unique relevance. And I was introduced to this term by Allie. Did I bring her on for a podcast? Maybe did I bring her on? I think I've been talking about it. Either way, brought Allie in for Mafia dinner, and she shared this quote and she didn't know who said it, but she was like, I can't remember, but here's the quote. Differentiation is not just being different. Differentiation is being uniquely relevant. And I fucking love that. I love that because I see this talk in the online space about standing out, and it's like, is it just standing out to just stand out and just like go do weird shit? No. If you're looking for attention, maybe. Right? Seth Godin talks about that, right? You can just go set yourself on fire if you want attention, but that's probably not the attention that you're looking for. What we're thinking about here in terms of differentiation and standing out is actually presenting or leading with what makes you the most qualified to help your avatar. What makes you the best fit to help your people? And typically that's going to be leaning into more you, leaning into your experiences, leaning into your beliefs, leaning into your values, leaning into your proprietary system, how you like to do things, right? That's how you're going to differentiate yourself in a very noisy, very crowded space. Second part here, where the antidote for the fact that there's a lot of supply is niche way the fuck down, right? Niche, the riches are in the niches, especially when your niche is rich, right? But niche way the fuck down. Be okay with quote unquote smaller numbers. Laura Jean, we had this discussion the other day in the Mafia, and she said a great quote. She was basically like, smaller doesn't mean bad. Small doesn't mean bad. Get your mind into the gutter. I'm just going to, or keep it there, whatever you want. You're adults. Autonomy is sexy. And the big thing being, don't be fooled by B2B numbers, right? Business to business numbers, where you're seeing people make these like bazillion-dollar months and having these massive launches and just having like 50,000 people in their fucking ecosystem or whatever. That's not the standard. That's not the default for things. And I really want, if we kind of circle back to what I said a little bit earlier in the episode and leaning into that book, The Go-Giver, I really look to relate with people. And the way you're going to do that is going to be more on that one-to-one, one-on-one basis and quote-unquote smaller numbers. Niche down and then own that niche, right? Be the person, the go-to for that specific thing. Have the courage to niche down, whether it's like you work with women age 50 and above. I see people that are 52, 56, and they're like going after this 40 and above, 35 and above crowd. Fuck that. Go for 50 and above. I always think about Joy. Right, my girl, she is the pregnant and postpartum climbing coach, right? The coach, the only one, the number one coach for pregnant and postpartum climbers. I got my girl Megan. She's the coach for pregnant and postpartum runners, specifically marathon runners and half marathon runners. Niche way the fuck down, right? People need to see their name on things to know that it's for them. Third part of this antidote, if you will, to the fact that there's a lot of supply in the online space is leaning on affiliates and leaning on referrals. Again, when there's a lot of supply, trust is going to be great for helping people make a decision. Right? When there's a lot of supply, that means people can take their time, which I'm all about. Let people take as long as they want to make a decision. One of the things that's going to help them make a decision is someone they trust. Getting a recommendation from someone they trust. Right? You can go and read a bunch of reviews on Amazon, but I know when I read them, I do read all of them. I'm also like, is this person like the worst though? Like, they had the time to leave this review, and like, they just not know how to use stuff. Whereas if it's someone that I trust, and they're like, nah, this is the thing, use this, or like, do not use that, stay away from that person, I really place a lot of credence in that. So to that end, look to develop those relationships with other people and other business owners, and lean on affiliates. I do affiliates for my Instagram intensive. And for those of you that don't know, an affiliate means that the person who sells the thing, they get a commission for selling that, right? They sell a thing for you and you give them money for doing that. You have looked with this to kind of shortcut the trust cycle just a little bit, because you're saying, hey, you trust me. Can you put me in front of your audience so that the trust that you have with your audience, they're willing to extend to me, right? Obviously, at the heart of this, the foundation of this is having that initial relationship where someone wants to be an affiliate for your product. They know that what you're delivering is good. They know that they trust, putting you in front of their audience. They know that you're going to deliver on the thing. But I think that is going to be a phenomenal way, especially, it doesn't really even matter where you're on your business. You can be more in the beginning phases of things by all means. But I think that when there's a lot of supply, that can be one way that we answer that. Okay. Number 4, or prediction/suggestion number 4 for online business in 2024, consider working for someone else. Now, this could be a little bit of a hard swill. That's not right. A hard swill. A hard pill to swallow, or tough pill to swallow. Side note, I cannot swallow pills. Like really small ones sometimes, but I just chew things. So it's random, but figure I'd throw that out there. But we saw this entrepreneurial boom that accompanied the pandemic, right? People going out on their own, people realizing that they didn't want to work for shitty bosses, things like that. And that was awesome. But I think that, in the past 3 years, some folks have learned that they are phenomenal at delivering a service. And maybe that's all they want to do. And they're not so good at the rest of business. Yes, these things can be learned, right? Marketing, advertising, promoting things, and all of that side of it, right? Everything else besides actually delivering the service. But it is very tough to run a business if you don't have those other things. So to that end, perhaps you bring your skills and you work for or with someone else. I'm really thinking about the 4 domains of the Clifton Strengths here. The 4 domains, first off, you know what the Clifton Strength is? It's a test that you can take, and I recommend it. It gives you language for like what you're good at. I've spoken about it in previous episodes. We will link it. I have no like affiliate code or anything like that. No affiliation with them, honestly, but I think it's fucking phenomenal. But they have 4 domains, and those domains are executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. Right, and so there's 34 strength total, and they group them into 4 different domains. And you take the test, and you can find out the order of those 34 strengths. Everyone has all these 34, but they're in a different order. The cheapest test that you can take that they offer will tell you your top 5 strengths, and it'll tell you like which domains these are in. What I have found, and I've been talking to Allegra about this, is that folks that don't lead with influencing strengths or relationship building strengths, it can be very tough for them to attract an audience. It can be very tough for them to even build an audience because they really struggle to go and put their work out there. They really struggle to just post on social media and to make content, right? They may be phenomenal with executing or strategic thinking, right? But we know that the hardest part of building a business is customer acquisition, right? It's getting the customers. So you could have all these skills and all these this ability to do things, but if you have no customers, very tough. Yes, I always said like, a good product can really go a long way, right? But it can be tough to get that initial customer if you really struggle with this kind of relationship building or influencing strengths or influencing domains. So let me actually go into that idea a little bit further. For folks that do have the really high in influencing and relationship building strengths, it can be easy to attract an audience. And once you get eyes, that is the hardest part. Strategy, layering strategy on, that is like pouring gasoline on a fire, right? If you can build trust with people, you can attract an audience, you can sell things, right? I know plenty of people and I've worked with them, and I was one of them, right? Where you don't have to even have this big fancy sales page. You don't have to have this big fancy course. You don't have to have this big fancy funnel. You could just be like, hey, I have this thing and I think it might be helpful for you. And if you want to buy it, here's a button, and people will buy it because you've built the trust. They know what you're bringing. They know your values. And so they believe that you can solve the problem, or maybe they just want to support you because they really like you, right? And then you layer strategy on that and it really becomes, gasoline on a fire. The flip side of that is when people don't have that ability, or they're not high in those, I don't want to say that because that sounds bad. They're not high in those strengths. Right? Maybe they're super organized. They're really good at researching things. That can be really tough to attract the audience, attract the customer. The solution to me there is partner with somebody else or go and work for someone, right? When I talk about this, I think about CrossFit box owners, where a lot of these folks started a CrossFit box because they like coaching. They like CrossFit or they like coaching. And then they start a business and they're like, fuck, I have to clean the floors. I have to manage a team. I have to run payroll. I have to do the financing side of this. I have to do the marketing for this. I have to go and get customers. I have to retain the customers. And they're like, I just want to coach. That's it. Maybe that's you. You just want to deliver the service. If so, take your skills and go work for somebody or work with somebody. I want to kind of flip this here so as to not pick on what we call the super learners, which is in my mind, I have a specific type of person that I'm thinking about that would be really good to work with somebody else or work for somebody else, right? Because it's going to be tough for them to attract an audience. I don't want to pick on that person because there is the flip side of this where it's folks that maybe are high in influencing skills, they're high in relationship building skills, but they don't lead with executing skills or executing strength. These people may have a tough time sticking to one thing, right? Or actually seeing something through, which can be really difficult for running a business. It can also be difficult for building trust, right? You can get that initial audience, but if you're ping-ponging all around, people are like, wait, what do you do? To that end, that person may really benefit from working with someone or for someone who holds them to a timeline and a routine. All that to say, you don't have to do it alone. If you have, you did the foray, you taken the trip into the entrepreneurial world, and you're like, I don't know about this. I'm struggling with this. There's something that's missing. Right? Last episode, I talked about basically, are you cut out for their entrepreneurial lifestyle, or is entrepreneurism for you? Something like that. I don't even remember the title. I'll be talking so much. But if you're like, man, I am really not liking this, or I am really struggling, this can be something to think about. I will strongly suggest that you go and take your Clifton StrengthsFinders test. I think it's $25 or something like that, because it will give you language and it can help you identify what you are really good at. So on one hand, you could take these things that you're really good at and then look to match with somebody that has, complementary skills. But I think for some people it can really, elucidate why certain things are tough for them. Maybe why it's so tough to post and so tough to show up online. Y'all know that I'm not one for banging my head against the wall. I'm not one for championing the struggle. If you want to do something, you're like, yeah, I want to get better at this, cool. But I'm in full support if you're like, this is just so fucking hard. I don't enjoy it. Every day is a struggle. Fucking do something else. All right? Take the things that you're really, really good at, double down, triple down, quadruple down on them. Right? That's going to tie into that more you that we were talking about. And then maybe look to work with somebody else or work for somebody else. Right? All right, last prediction / suggestion for online biz in 2024. All right, fifth and final suggestion here. Use AI and use it to assist, not create. So AI is phenomenal at doing certain things and horrendous at other things, right? We see some of the pictures it makes people be having like, it has a tough time with like appropriate number of limbs and fingers and things like that. But I have not really gone down the rabbit hole of using AI to generate images, but I have used it kind of on the content creation, the word side of things. And so a non-exhaustive list of what AI is great for. Namely, I've been leaning on ChatGPT, but we see a lot, like so many things, so many programs and software out there has AI built in now, or it's building it in because it's like, yo, we got to keep up with everybody else. Zoom has it built in. Riverside FM, which is the podcasting software I use for remote podcast episodes, has it built in. Descript, which is the other editing software that I use, has it built in now. And the functionality is quite good. So a list of non-exhaustive list of things that it's good for. Podcast show notes, chapters for videos, pulling clips from content. It's kind of meh at this, but I think it's getting better. Coming up with titles, shortening titles, summarizing text, or creating like I don't know what the name of this is. But if you're like going to give a talk and you're like, I don't really know how to come up with a blurb for that, it can help you out with that for sure. In terms of summarizing text, it's also great for creating short form content for social media. Right? You could create carousels from a blog post. If you really like to write a lot of stuff, cool. Use it to make shorter posts, right? You can use it to shorten social media captions. If you're like, man, this is just too long, cool. Ask it to summarize it for you. Ask it to shorten for you. You can use it to describe your tone, and then once it has that description of what your tone is, right, how you write, you can then say that you want it to generate the content or use that tone as it's helping you generate the content. And again, when I say generate content, I mean you're going to ask it to do something from an input, right? You're going to give it content to make something from. You could ask what to do to change the tone of your content so as to have a different impact. I'm thinking about right now a client that I'm working with, and I had her use it. Like, she's very good at like kind of listing things out and like presenting information. And I was like, hey, you could use AI to give suggestions on how to change the tone so that it is more influential, or so that it inspires people to take action. Because that's a different type of writing there. So then you have words and you have an understanding, an explanation of, oh, I see the difference here. And then you can look to lean into that style of writing. Right? Lastly, Zoom summaries. For those of you that do your calls via Zoom, it's called AI Companion or something like that. It's phenomenal. It provides you summaries after you're done. I think I'm going to start using it for marketing, but you could just send it to your clients and be like, hey, this is what we talked about. And you can maybe not, take as copious of notes if that's something that you struggle with, right? So many things that you can use it for. The main thing with AI to understand here is that the better the input, the better the output. And better meaning more specific, right? Which is often the hardest part. And like having the language, right? AI is kind of almost like its own language of like inputting things like almost its own language. So my number one resource for that is actually my girl, Allegra Stein. I actually just talked about her a few minutes ago with the Clifton Strength. But she did a webinar all about how to use ChatGPT for your coaching business. And I think she's just so masterful with describing and explaining and teaching how to generate these better inputs and how to come up with these better inputs and what to say to ChatGPT so that it actually spits out things that you're like, oh yeah, I want to use this. Of course, the stuff that you're going to get from AI, it always tends to sound a little bit robotic and things like that, but it can really be great for just kind of jumpstarting the brain, getting you past some of that writer's block or whatever. So number one resource, Allegra, she did a webinar on that. You can go to her website, allegrastein.com. We'll link that in the show notes, and you can check out that and purchase that, the replay of that webinar there. All right. So there you have it. My top 5 online business predictions for 2024. Yes, they're more so suggestions, but it is what it is, right? To reiterate, in-person will always be a thing. So go forth and crush it if that's what you're doing. If you're looking to go into online business, remember, on in-person business, fastest way to start an online business and the easiest way to build trust. And also the best way to know what the general public, where they're actually at and what will actually help them. Number 2, the pandemic boomerang is real. People are leaving. They're realizing how hard this shit is. So just keep going. Number 3, there's a lot of supply in the online space. So in order to stand out lean into more you, niche way the fuck down, and consider leaning on affiliates and referrals. Number 4, consider working with or for someone else. And then number 5, use AI and use it to assist, not to create. That's all that I got when it comes to thinking about 2024. I was like, is it going to be longer? No, that's it. I mean, the episode's still longer than the rest of them. But there you have it, my top 5 online business predictions for 2024. And don't forget, the foundations, the fundamentals will always, always work. Next episode this Thursday will be the finest and the final episode of 2023. It's going to be that guest episode with Meredith Root and Alex Parker. Would love for you to tune in. Had a blast with that one. After that, the next episode will drop on Monday, January 1st, which is also my 39th birthday. So, that should be fun. And we're going to be moving to 1 episode per week, which will continue to be published every Monday, just like we've been doing. You'll be able to listen to it here, wherever here is for you. You'll be able to watch it on YouTube. And don't forget, if you go to themovingmaestro.com/podcast, you can search for any keyword you want, and any episode or blog post that is relevant will pop up. All right? As always, just so grateful for your support. It's been a banger of a year, and it's weird to be like, should I do like a wrap-up episode? Because I'm like, but I'm going to talk to you next week, and time is a flat circle. So yes, I know we have this kind of arbitrary, yes, the end of the year, New Year, things like that. But we're just going to keep rocking and rolling with this. Yes, it's down to 1 episode, but that's because we're down to 1 episode per week. But that's because we're making space for more. MOAR. All right. Hope that you are having a phenomenal, phenomenal holiday season, and I will catch you on Thursday. Until next time, friends, Maestro out.